Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind. Let's watch.
I don't think our emotional connection's where it should be. And that's where I'm at.
I know, and you don't change.
Well, today didn't make it any better.
Yeah, because you don't change.
So he's asking her to change. Yeah, remember, if you watched Queer Love with me, do you remember Aussie? We eventually found out that Aussie has a tremendous amount of trauma. And by the way, I talked with Aussie and Sam off the record, very lovely couple and very likable people. I could see myself hanging out with them. Their vibe was similar to the sort of people I hang out with. But anyway, so for Aussie, remember that we saw a porcupine version of Aussie where there were criticisms, when Sam would say things like, I can't talk about my feelings, and Aussie would be like, it's always about your feelings. And you're thinking, whoa, where's this coming from? That's not okay, what Aussie is doing. We learn overall later that Aussie has been through some stuff, high-level stuff, if you will, seemingly, that given the kinds of traumas that we hear about on the show, Aussie seemingly was up there. And was realizing that, or had already known that, or was on a journey of healing. But anyway, so in that situation, at first, we're like, ooh, Aussie is being a jerk face. Later, we're like, oh, it doesn't mean that Aussie wasn't being a jerk face. It just means that we understand the context. It doesn't mean that Sam has to deal with it, but we understand that Aussie doesn't necessarily have a lot of control over it. And for JP, I think it might be similar, that he's laying into her right now and digging in and just saying, it's because of you. It's because you won't let go of the awkwardness. It's because you have, what did you say?
I don't think our emotional connection's where it should be. And that's where I'm at.
I know, and you don't change.
All right, because you don't change. Change what? What is he talking about? Now, maybe there's something specific or understandable that he is referring to. I'm guessing not, though. And it's also possible he's literally just saying, you just have to deal with the awkwardness or just let it go or something. And yeah, that might actually help. But she's not his therapist, right? She is a partner that has needs. Well, for me, when I have clients that are like JP in this way, yeah, absolutely, because it's my job and I am in a role of a healer and a therapist, and I'm not in the person's life. I would only see them a certain amount of time per week. And absolutely, I will let a lot of things go, not just JP's behavior, but people who attack me, just flat out attack me verbally, in the distant past, attack me physically. And yeah, I would just move past it. I would maybe address it with them, but I would be kind. I would be forgiving. I would give them a lot of leeway because that's my role. And my needs, my personal needs, are being met in my relationships outside of the therapy office. So yeah, JP could want that, and he would benefit. The relationship would sustain itself longer if she were to just let it go. But she has needs. She has needs for love and assurance and connection. And okay, yeah, I could let it go, but then my needs will really go out the window, right? Now, it's possible that if she were able to let it go for a while, that he might actually emerge the way he was in the pods. I suspect that would probably be true, and maybe we'll see that over time, that eventually we're seeing a little bit more vulnerability from, like even this, which is not good in my estimation, based on the edit. He's blaming her when he should not be. He should just be like, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm sorry. I just wish he'd say something like that. I don't know if that would fix it, but it wouldn't be him being a dick. So anyway, I think it is possible that if they were able to somehow get through this difficult time, that he would, and she were like, say that we just had a switch, a fuse box in her head, and we could just turn off any kind of displeasure or complaint about this issue. And it just gave him another month or so in person to just settle in. I wonder if the real JP would emerge, or the side of him that she fell in love with, and then we could turn that switch back on, and certainly she could start complaining at that point. But but the complaints wouldn't be as global or as concerning for the two of them. There's also a possibility that he has something, his personality isn't just this one side of him that we're seeing, this dimension of him shutting down. He has a lot of other parts of his personality, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are other parts that we just haven't even touched on that are also concerning and or not compatible with her.
Well, today didn't make it any better.
Yeah, because you don't change. You're steadfast in the fact that it's awkward.
That's how I
It's
feel.
going to be super awkward
That's
no
how
matter
I feel.
what.
And that's how I felt every day.
Yeah, it's very similar to the Aussie-Sam conversation, that it looks like we have a traumatized person who is blaming because they're traumatized. They haven't been to a lot of therapy. I'm just going to take a guess and say that JP hasn't been to a ton of therapy and is, terrified and panicking and just being like, hey, and this is what might normally work in the past. I'm sure a lot of things don't work for JP, but if one thing's going to work is maybe just to blame. Anyway, this could also be part of the reason for his relational traumas to begin with, of people blaming him when he's just telling them how he feels. And so he's like, oh, that's what you do. And so he's just emulating that. I don't know. But anyway, so as with Aussie and Sam, we're seeing a person that seemingly is coming from a very traumatized place and doesn't know what to do and is completely panicked and is just trying anything they can. And their version of actually doing better is to not scream and run out of the room. He's keeping it under wraps. In all likelihood, there's some handling, some emotional regulation that he's managing right now, but it doesn't negate the terror that he's feeling, and his normal way is just criticize. Well, this is because you just need to forget about it. You're focusing on it too much. And then from her standpoint, she's reached a limit, as Sam did, where she's just like, okay, but what about me? Does that mean I've been foregoing this entire time we've met in person? I've been letting it go. I've been accommodating you and, coddling you and carrying the conversations and initiating some semblance of a relationship with you. At some point, it has to stop. Okay, fine. I hear you. You want me to let it go. But am I a part of this equation? Do I matter? And I've talked about this before, but the way that she feels in all likelihood is discounted, rejected, criticized, belittled, alone, dismissed. And the way that she feels, and she's expressing from that place, I think, might be an exact replica of the way that he feels all the time. It is an interesting assessment for therapists, but also just in life, is that when you're in a relationship with someone and you start to feel a certain way, maybe you notice that you say things like she's saying, but like, this is how I feel. Does it matter how I feel? I feel like you don't care how I feel about this. That's coming from that place of feeling dismissed and belittled or rejected or something, abandoned. And that feeling, not necessarily the way that you react, not necessarily the way that she reacts because of that feeling, but that feeling, that real feeling that you're having, underneath, that is the foundation of it all. There's a pretty good chance that the way that he acts as a way to avoid the feeling that he has actually will download that feeling into other people through his actions. He will make other people feel, not on purpose. It sometimes is, but 99.9% of the time it's not on purpose, that he will inadvertently cause other people to feel the way he felt originally. But now that he's involved in this defensive structure, he actually makes other people feel this way. So there's a lot of arrows pointing in the direction that he feels dismissed, like by default. It just is what it is. And it's constant. Even when she's being nice to him, he will interpret it through the lens of, I'm being dismissed. and you've had one foot out the door this whole time. That's just that I'm being dismissed, I'm being thrown away, I'm being rejected, I'm unsafe. That's what this is happening right now. And because he has that assumption and he has his way of defending against it, it causes everyone around him to feel the way he does deep down. So however shitty she feels right now, which is totally unfair to her and totally awful, he probably feels it 1,000 times more intensely and all the time. Like I've been saying from the beginning, if they break up, which it looks like even more certain now, that she'll be able to move on and that feeling will go away. For him, he's stuck with it until he heals.
Yeah, and I can't change your mind. I can't do it. I'm trying to. I'm literally trying to change your mind.
Yeah. So at first I'm thinking, oh, okay, that's nice that he's saying I'm trying to change. But then he's like, yeah, I'm trying. I'm putting so much effort into, people say gaslighting, but trying to change your mind. I'm trying to tell you that your evaluation of this situation is wrong. I'm trying to get you to forgo your feelings. I've been trying that this whole time. He wouldn't word it that way. But so this appears to be maybe his strategy that he learned or he's developed over time. It's just, I need other people to just stop. And we all do this. You've heard me talk about it before, but briefly. When we get into fights with our partner, it's almost universal, if not universal, that we will try to change their mind. We'll try to manage their feelings or their thoughts in a variety of ways. It's just like you get in a fight the night before, and the next day your partner comes to you and is just like, I can't believe you said those things to me. And, so say with my wife, sometimes it's hard because when I say you and me, I lose the thread. But say my wife and I have a fight the night before, and the next day I initiate a conversation, and she's just like, well, it's only because you did that thing. And when I hear that, it's example. So she would say, well, it's because you were being a dick earlier in the night or something. And then I'm thinking, initially I'm thinking, I don't remember trying to be a dick, and I don't remember being a dick. So, I know. The quickest way from A to B is I will just tell her right now that I wasn't a dick and she read it wrong. So then I say, well, I wasn't being a dick. What are you talking about? Or when I said that thing, I wasn't being a dick. You're just too sensitive, or you chose to see me being a dick. I wasn't being a dick. That's wrong. And that's not a good strategy because in all likelihood, in that made up situation, I was being a dick, or at the very least, it's reasonable for someone to interpret me as being a dick. And I might not have been aware of it. It might not have been my intention. I might have been upset about something else, and it was leaking into the way I was talking to my wife or something. But it doesn't help to tell someone that they don't understand reality or that their feelings are invalid or something, Now, on the flip side, if someone, if I did say something like, oh, say I was more functional, and it's like, oh, you mean earlier in the night? Oh, does it mean when I was saying that and that and that? Huh. Well, I don't know the way I came across, but I certainly didn't mean to be a dick to you. That wasn't my intention. I hope you believe me that I guess I was coming across like I was a dick, but I didn't mean to do that. I wasn't trying to attack you or something. I was just intense or something. Who knows? And so on the flip side of this is, in that scenario, that role play, I'm not trying to tell her that she's wrong. I'm just telling her that, in fact, I'm saying, I understand, I guess, that someone might think that I was doing that, but deep down, that wasn't the intention. It doesn't negate what I did, but it does add to the picture, because if you think I'm being a dick and I mean to be a dick, then that's different than I'm being a dick and I'm accidentally being a dick. The dick count in this episode is up there. So for my wife, the flip side to this is that she would do well to accept that and to say, well, he was being a dick, and he's not disagreeing with that, but he didn't mean to. Okay, so that does change it a little bit. Point is that what he's doing is perhaps a real ham-fisted version of what I'm talking about, where you just say, what are you talking about? I wasn't being a dick. You need to not see it that way.
It's literally the same conversation every single time we talk.
Because you're not changing your mind. I've been trying every fucking day.
Yeah, that fits in my hypothesis that he is desperately trying. The problem is his efforts are actually causing the problem instead of fixing it. But if I were to work with someone like JP, I wouldn't be surprised if, there's no way that he can, in this moment, even if I had like 5 hours to just sit down with him and walk through everything, the way that he behaves, it looks like he's been doing this since he was 2 years old. So he has no ability to just be like, oh, I'll just change my entire approach to emotion and relationships and my demeanor and the way I think and act and my impulses. I'll just adopt a completely new personality. I would guess that there's not a lot of hope, I guess, is what I'm saying. But I don't know. I've been wrong before. It all hinges on her. If she loses oomph, if she loses motivation, then yeah, it's over. Because well, I don't know. So this could actually help in a sense if she starts to distance instead of constantly accommodating. He might actually go, oh, it's game time, and maybe a nude. I don't know. I doubt it.
I know that you've been trying. It's not working.
I'm sorry we had an awkward.
You gotta move past the awkward first thing.
That's what started the whole thing.
I'm gonna move past it, and I'm gonna say.
Oh, interesting. That's what started the whole thing. So they had the awkward meeting in the hallway, and then remember that she said when they met up and the vacation, she said, that was really awkward, and I cried myself to sleep then. I went to some pretty dark places of that I'd made this terrible mistake and that you didn't love me or you didn't like the way I looked or something. And it was really bad. Was it bad for you? And he's like, huh? I don't know. And in that, I hadn't considered that in that moment, she's not, what we hear is that she was hurt and longing and happy that it's not as bad as it was in the hallway, or that she was essentially saying, I'm happy that you're here because I think what she was saying was, because of the way that I thought you might have been treating me in the hallway, it raised this question as to whether or not I might ever see you again. I didn't know if you would even be here or that you would even want to smile at me or even be. I thought the first thing you would say to me when you saw me is like, yeah, I'm done. And you're not doing that. So, what she's saying is that she's happy. But what he might be hearing in that moment is, oh, crap, I've screwed it up again, or she has reasons to leave me, or she's just saying that because, she was crying. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, who knows, but given the schema that I think he might suffer from, that when she said, I stayed up all night crying, worrying about what had happened, from our standpoint, especially the way she delivered it, we understand her, and we understand why she would feel that way, and that it was more like a hurt feeling rather than like I made a bad choice feeling, right? But given his schema, he might filter all that information through the lens and say, oh, she's saying that she was crying because it was awkward and she felt hurt, but I know she spent all night crying because she realized that I'm an awkward weirdo and she didn't want to be with me. That's why she was crying. She was crying because she knew she made the wrong choice. And you could see how what she was saying could be interpreted that way, but it's a very different way of looking at it, right? If I were in JP's shoes and I heard her say that, I would hear, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's what I'd be feeling. But I'd also hear, wow, she must really be into me because of how worried she's been about this, how much she took it to heart that we had an awkward moment. It's a big deal to her. Whereas for him, he might just hear the half empty part of it, which is, oh, she's done with me. She doesn't want to be with me. And then in his mind, he feels like he can blame her for that. Like, you just needed to let it go. You just needed, why did you focus so much on the awkward thing? And then you got hurt by it. Like, you need to just stop that whole thing. I'm pretty sure that's what he's saying.
Okay, Night one here was awkward. Day two here was weird. Day three, we're not able to communicate.
Day one.
Okay, so we're hearing, I was trying to figure out how long they've been on the vacation. They don't tell us. It kind of looks like the second night, but day 4 or beyond. So they've had a lot of days of awkwardness. Yeah, that's, just imagine. And I don't think they have cell phones at this point, or it's limited. And they're just stuck. They don't have a lot of distractions. They're just stuck with she's stuck with him, and she doesn't have anything else to do, I think. So she'd really notice just how awkward it is.
Guess what? We're not going to be able to communicate.
Day one was already awkward because you were like, oh.
Fuck day one. Fuck the reveal, JP. Move on from it.
That's what started everything.
Yeah, he just keeps hammering on the reveal. And she's like, yeah, I totally understand. She's like, fuck that. I'm talking about today. I'm talking about right now. Forget the day one. Let's say that never happened. But from his standpoint, or at least maybe another part of the defensive structure could involve that underneath the defensive structure is this assumption that he is to blame 100% and no one will ever love him. He's unlovable, like at his core. But a defense is to try to hold on to some semblance of self-esteem and self-worth, is to do everything he can to just point out, well, no, it's you. Instead of, because best case scenario, he would be able to say, yeah, maybe I am to blame for this, but I'm still a good person. That's an important component to being able to take responsibility and apologize and work in situations like this. Like with Aussie and Sam, given Aussie's traumas, underneath the service, there might be something like that. So when there's some kind of a criticism, there's a very hard line that is drawn against that. It's like, no, I didn't do anything wrong. Because the implication to the individual is, if I even kind of accept that criticism, it means that I'm worthless. And that obviously causes problems in relationships. For JP, we all need the ability to take feedback and hear something like that and go like, yeah, maybe let's try it on for size. That, the next time you get into some sort of fight or conflict with anybody, but let's say your partner, try to, at some point, as early as possible, put aside your defenses and just fully listen to what your partner is saying. And even though all the fibers of your being, depending, if they're being abusive, then don't do this. But if they're not, even though everything in your body is saying that's wrong, they're distorted, they have their relational traumas that are causing them to do this. You've probably adopted certain language systems that I talk about, or at least had it before, I don't know. And never use what you learn here as a weapon against other people. It's natural to do that, but that's not its intent, right? You want to be Aikido with it, which is it's always in the service of nonviolence in communication and otherwise. Anyway, so for the next time, really just try it on. You're just like, okay, let's just assume that they're coming from some semblance of objectivity and rationale, and I'm gonna just try it on. Okay, what are they saying? What's going on here? And let me think of the possibility that they might be at least kind of right, if not wholly, if not completely right. For someone to do that, though, you have to actually be able to withstand the notion that you made a mistake, that you have a flaw, that someone might actually have a legitimate reason to leave you. Now, the next time you get into a conflict with your partner, it's not likely the conflict that ends it all, right? But that's the way it feels to us. That's how that assumption that if I admit or even accept that what they're saying is true as criticism or feedback, then that means they're going to leave me. And of course, that causes a lot of anxiety and also causes a lot of hurt. It's like, how dare they criticize me over a mistake I made yesterday and leave me? It's like, it's all this fantasy in the mind, right? Anyway, so there's a possibility that for him, he does not have that foundation, that strong foundation to stand on and withstand someone's criticism of him. And so he is just doing everything he can to deflect, but it is on its face ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense, and Taylor sees it, I think, and unless he changes something, I can't imagine that this is going to work.
Is it not?
No, you know what started it is when I came here and we couldn't get past it.
You couldn't get past it.
And you're still awkward.
Right. Yeah. I wish she would elaborate on the awkward word, because awkward could just mean that he's shy or goofy. I mean, maybe he knows what she means by that, but I think at least what we've seen in the edit, is that he's not communicative. He is very strained when he's talking, like he's about to be hit or something, or that he doesn't really want to talk, or he is just completely uncomfortable and just wants to run away. He gives off that vibe of someone that just is just like, let me out of here. But most importantly, he just doesn't participate, right? In terms of the edit, he just doesn't say anything, or he's being a dick like he was at the beach that one day. So yeah, he's focusing on, you aren't moving past it. And she's saying, okay, but you're still awkward. You have yet to not be awkward. So even if you were perfect day 1 through 3, day 4, and right now, you're being a certain way, which is not going. Now, she could help him by saying, I'm not saying I don't like this because of this. I don't like it because I don't feel connected to you. I felt connected to you. Whatever word we want to put to it, whether it's awkwardness or something, there's a new thing that's happening now that we're out of the pods. I feel like I am being the same person as I was in the pods. I feel like you have changed, and I don't know what is going on.
And don't talk. This is the first time you've actually talked to me.
That's the only thing we have is the reveal, and then we come here. Is it not?
Okay, so we just heard that this is the first time that they've talked. I wonder if he's a little intoxicated and able, actually, uninhibited enough to be able to talk. And he just keeps hammering on this idea. Just like, all we have is the reveal, and now, what? 4 days? Was that 48, 96 hours? You've had 96 hours beyond the reveal. Okay, well, let's adjourn there. And everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really, really do.